So at Slant 3D, we are professionals, constantly working to improve stuff, working as professional engineers, creating advanced technology so people can get exactly what they need. But every once in a while, you can't get what you need, so you deal with what you got. So a little bit of backstory about how this came about. Inside of here, when you're running filament extrusion, you don't want to go from a hot extruder straight to cold water. You want to actually slowly lower the temperature of the filament as it's being drawn out in order to have a good, consistent diameter. But in order to do that, you need to have this tank be hot, and then that tank a little cooler, and then that tank a little cooler on down. But in order to keep this tank hot, it has heaters inside of it. And you might notice that this heater seems a little bit off. These are 220 to 400 volt heaters, depending on what system you're operating on. And these heat up and can effectively boil that water if we wanted it to. But this extrusion line is a little bit old, and as you go through thermal cycles, these heating elements will eventually break down. This also happens inside of your water heater at home. Sometimes these things just have to be replaced after 5 or 10 years of operation, because heating something up and cooling it down when it's inside of a metal sheeting cracks the ceramic on the inside until you effectively can have a short that just burns the whole thing out. So this thing burnt out, we are not able to get the spare parts for it. This machine is made in China. China is the only one that makes a part that's quick enough for it. And we've got 2 weeks to wait until these parts show up and get replaced around. We haven't been able to locate them anywhere else yet at a reasonable sort of situation. So in order to make sure that we're still making filament on time and not delaying shipments, we went to where you can get heating elements. Now, there are pool heaters and ice melters and that kind of stuff that are meant to be submerged in water like this. The problem with all of those is that they do not actually heat the water hot enough. We gotta be able to effectively boil the water or get close to that. In order to boil water, we thought, oh, what if we just boiled a bunch of water over there in our break room and then just consistently move pots over here? And then we thought, oh, well, that's dumb. We've got a metal pot over here. Let's just cut out the middleman and just paste the heating elements right onto it. So these are $15 to $20 hot plates that we have strapped on to this tank. There are a couple underneath, there are a couple on the other side, and there's those right there. And they're pressed up against it as if we had a kettle on. And what this allows us to do is get it up to temp. It is janky as all get out, and we do not want to do this continuously, and we certainly don't want to splash water all over the place on this. So we're changing our safety standards so that people just kind of stay away just in case something goes weird with this whole setup, because it is not correctly set up. But it allows us to continue to operate. And here's the important thing. Oddly enough, even though this looks weird and funny and ugly, these things are cheaper than these things. They work just as well. They're more reliable, and we can go get spare parts at the Walmart or delivered next day with Amazon. And this is an important thing to realize. Simply because something is built the way it should be built or the way somebody built it doesn't mean that's the right way to do it. This is not correct, but using these types of heating elements appropriately hardened and glued onto the side or welded in correctly would not be a bad idea. It is a bad idea because it's 110 voltage and you don't want to do that because that's inefficient. This stuff is running at 220 to 400, which means it's really clean at heating water. But as a backup, as a solution, as a different way of engineering it so it's more feasible to operate these kind of lines, these are type of solutions that are perfectly doable. And people get in their own heads about the right way of doing stuff, so it prevents them from getting it done. Ultimately, our customers just care that we're making filament at the right diameter. This lets us do that. This lets us do that a little bit better, but it gets done. And now nobody's waiting for a delay on their material, and we're getting our job done regardless of the situation around in the world or what parts are available. Have a great day, everybody.